Hello, in this part of our video series where we examine the feeling of guilt, we will explore the impact of guilt on our overall quality of life. The answer to a simple question like, does the feeling of guilt affect a person's quality of life, is, of course, quite simple. It does affect, and deeply at that. Almost everyone can give the answer to this question so easily. However, the real challenge is to determine whether we are under the influence of the feeling of guilt and to what extent guilt deeply affects the course of our lives. In this video, we will together seek the answer to this. During one's spiritual journey and ascent, there are periods where confusion arises in every aspect of life. In a spiritual context, especially in the Western type of spiritual enlightenment, such as the term dark night of the soul, and similar stages, this confusion disrupts a person's life. During periods like the dark night of the soul, a person has to stop and look at everything they have experienced, getting lost in questions that question the foundations of their existence. Caught between the urge to find answers and the impulse to continue living as before, a person undergoing such a period experiences a great crisis and turmoil. Especially during such times, everything may seem fine when looked at from the outside. However, internally, a person struggles with an inner discomfort whose cause they cannot find. It is highly valuable to be able to find the real cause of their problems during this period when individuals on their spiritual journeys desperately seek solutions to intervene in their current situation. Guilt is one of the concepts that almost every person going through this phase of their life seeks to understand in their own existence. When a person recalls and questions the memories in which they know they felt guilt, they simultaneously explore the impact of the feeling of guilt among the reasons for the process they are going through and investigate the dimensions of this effect. The problem is that during the dark night of the soul, things, events, facts, and concepts are so intertwined and complex that finding the real cause of something becomes almost impossible. In essence, one of the main reasons for experiencing the period of the dark night of the soul is to allow the thoughts to emerge from among them and delve into the depths of the soul. As Rumi also said, "You have been walking the ocean's edge, holding up your robes to keep them dry. You must dive naked under and deeper under, 1,000 times deeper. Love flows down." In other words, the reason for the occurrence of the dark night of the soul is not to think and find the reasons for something, but that is another topic for a different video. So let's get back to our subject and explore whether you are living a life at the level of guilt through indicators in your life. One of the most apparent indicators of guilt is the absence of traces of fundamental concepts such as self-worth, self-love, and self-respect in your life. However, these are very broad concepts. In a less expanded form, the following may be present in your outlook on life: criticism, fear, shame, inability to consider oneself deserving of something good, believing that one must earn something to possess it, bad habits and addictions, closing off one's own path in life with one's own words and actions, fearing making mistakes and striving not to make them, trying to be excessively cautious, viewing life with anxiety, inability to tolerate one's own and others' mistakes, holding oneself and others responsible for everything in one's life. One, several, or all of these may exist within you. If you have found all of them in yourself, don't worry. On the contrary, you should rejoice. Let me explain. If you have identified all of these within yourself, I must give you the good news that you are on the verge of stepping out of the self-image and false character you have unknowingly created in your mind. Because all the indicators we have listed here belong to the concept we call human. They are found in every human without exception, and this conceptual human resides within everyone. As a result, by ceasing to blame yourself, you will also stop blaming others. Similarly, as you see why you do what you do in your own life, you will begin to understand why other people have done what they have done, instead of accusing or judging them. In this way, both sides of the coin will be shown to you. When you witness both sides of reality, the dualism that is the operating principle of your mind will begin to crumble, and you will start transitioning to unity consciousness. More precisely, at the later stages of the journey, you will realize that you have been in unity consciousness from the very beginning, but this is a topic that could be the subject of an entirely different video. In short, realizing that everything is your mirror, you will begin to wipe and clean the mirrors of others through your own mirror. The reason for noticing all of these is not for you to feel sorry for yourself or get angry at yourself, thinking about how bad your situation is. The reason you are aware of all these is that all your hidden justifications are collapsing and they will eventually leave you. Because as your journey progresses, you will choose not to engage in these anymore. Until this phase of your life, whether consciously or unconsciously, you chose to think or act in this way without being aware of it. You preferred to see life in this way, perhaps taught by your ancestors or learned from the social environment you were in. The aim here is not to blame anyone. The reason you are experiencing the dark night of the soul is not for you to be blamed and punished. What is happening is simply that you have started to see the other side of the picture. Until now, you have lived your life by only seeing one side of the coin, and suddenly the other side is being presented before your eyes. This has shaken your reality. The root cause of all the chaos is actually the fundamental shaking of your perception of reality. There is essentially a tremendously beautiful reason for all of this to happen. However, there was no other way for you to face reality, so do not be angry at life. Going through such a process will lead to a profound emergence of compassion and understanding within you. You will have the chance to rectify the problems in your life by seeing what you have done and what you have not done. Let's return to our topic and examine how guilt can affect a person's overall quality of life. Guilt energy can manifest itself very openly in human life or in a much hidden way. For example, a person may struggle and try repeatedly but still cannot overcome their addictions. In reality, what they are doing in the invisible realm is continuing to engage in something they can blame themselves for. For instance, if a person is forcing themselves to quit an addiction by dictating and resisting, almost with anger, it can be said that guilt energy is a comfort zone for this person. The fundamental issue is actually this. What they are unconsciously trying to do is not quit the addiction, but to create a cycle where they can blame themselves every day. In such a situation, the person has accumulated feelings that they deny, bury in the past, and continue to blame themselves subconsciously, even if it does not register in their consciousness. In this case, it can be said that the person unconsciously associates the addiction they are trying to quit with the denied and buried emotions from the past that they continue to blame themselves for. What they are actually trying to quit is now just a symbol of the guilt they have hidden in their subconscious. In reality, they are trying to solve the existing problem through the object they have objectified. A person in this situation cannot break free from this addiction without facing the guilt they have locked in the box within themselves. Here, the mental existence continues to create itself in the comfort zone. Because even though it cannot name it, the energy it knows and is accustomed to in terms of existence is guilt. It doesn't even know that there could be a perspective on life outside of guilt energy. In this case, there is hardly a need to say how deeply the person's life is affected. Because guilt has now become the very essence of what the person directly understands from life, the person is looking at life directly through the window of guilt. The easiest way to test this is as follows. If, when the term guilt is mentioned, you understand very well what is meant by this concept, even if you know it very well, but still cannot easily describe it to someone else, we can say that guilt energy has significantly entrenched itself in your life. Something can only be easily defined when looked at from an entirely external perspective. We are talking about a difference between looking down from the summit of a mountain and describing the valley below versus being below and getting lost within the valley. It is impossible to see how large the valley is, where it starts, and where it ends without safely coming out of the valley and ascending the mountain. The depth of guilt's impact on life lies in the person's inability to perceive it, even if they wish to. Typically, periods like the dark night of the soul bring to the surface and unfold energies such as guilt in the lives of individuals who have endured years of suffering. This is because, for them to break free from their current circumstances, the realities of their existing lives need to be shattered. This situation is akin to transporting someone from one planet to another. Even if the person desires it, they cannot emerge from this situation on their own, so their entire reality is seemingly demolished through a divine intervention. Rumi's quote, "Where there is ruin, there is hope for a treasure," precisely expresses this scenario. We conclude this video here. In the upcoming episodes, we will attempt to delve into other questions. Please take very good care of yourself.